Hello, I'm Ash from Hailing Moons Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Master System.
Back in the early 90s, the gaming world was in a console war between Sega and Nintendo, each having strong contenders to convince gamers that they were the gaming console to have at the time. Where Nintendo had the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega had the Mega Drive and the weaker of the four consoles, the Sega Master System. Sonic the Hedgehog was first released on the Mega Drive in June 1991 and was released on the Master System just a couple of months later on October 25th. Here we're going to take a look at Sonic on the console I was brought up on, the Sega Master System. Sonic, just like its Mega Drive counterpart, consisted of 6 different zones with 3 acts in each. Green Hill Zone Act 1 is actually different to its 16-bit counterpart, where the background and the environment is actually different. However, the music stays true to that famous Green Hill Zone that everyone knows and loves. Green Hill Zone Act 2 is filled with spikes, water and badniks, which is a very bad combination to any Sonic player out there. Bridge Zone is a bright and colourful zone with a catchy background music to boot. It contained bridges which collapsed if a player stood on them for too long, waterfalls and of course plenty of fish. Also, the background music was also sampled in the chorus of Janet Jackson's Together Again, so see if you can hear it. Bridge Zone Act 2 is actually quite rare for a Sonic game, as the screen moves from right to left on its own accord. It forced the player to try and think on their feet while dodging all the obstacles while keeping alive at the same time. Jungle Zone Act 1 is full of waterfalls, another catchy beat, and movable objects which will test for jumping skills for most Sonic players out there. Unlike its 16-bit counterpart, this is the first level to introduce a vehicle mechanic in the shape of a log. You need to use this log to get to the emerald on the stage, but you can also use it to run across the bottom of the screen, allowing you to skip the trickier platform bit of the level. Jungle Zone Act 2 is another rare act in a Sonic game, where the player must climb his way to the top of a waterfall, with the screen following you every step of the way. This might sound easy, but as you're climbing you need to keep an eye on the bottom of the screen, as you're not allowed back down again, and making an error will be costly. Labyrinth Zone Act 1. Now this zone is the slower paced of all the zones in the game, just like its Mega Drive counterpart. As this is situated underwater, the player needs to make sure they have enough air to get themselves through the trickier obstacles, as when you see those numbers flashing, it's a damn good time to panic. Labyrinth Zone Act 2 is very similar to Act 1, however the start of the level has more of a puzzle vibe to it, as you need to find the way out before you run out of air. This also has the trickiest emerald to get in my opinion in the game, as you need an invincibility box to grab the emerald for most pesky spikes. Scrap Brain Zone Act 1 is more of a darker level to what the player has seen previously with its black and red backgrounds. It also brings into effect more environmental obstacles, such as flamethrowers coming from the roof and electricity rods on the ground to make you stay on your feet. It's the first act to also introduce switches to open doors so you can advance, however with yet another catchy tune you should get through this in no time. Scrap Brain Zone Act 2 has a lot more going on than the previous act. It has teleporters which takes you to different parts of the level, and it also has a fork in the road section. The idea of this act is to figure out how to get the door open on the higher level to get to the end goal. Might sound tedious, but for a Sonic game it's really clever. Sky-based Zone Act 1, now this is where it jumps up a difficulty in my opinion. The act is dark and every few seconds lightning will go off, illuminating the whole stage. However, be careful, as when it goes off and you're jumping you're more likely to get hit. Also, if you manage to dodge the lightning there are plenty of sentry guns to stop you in your tracks. This act also involves a platform which moves as you are standing still on it, which again is a rare sight for a Sonic game. Sky-based Zone Act 2 is the final act before the last boss, with one exception. There is no rings for the player to collect, making this the deadliest stage in the game. However, there is a sneaky shortcut which makes this stage child's play if you know where to look. At the end of each zone, the player is pitted against a boss which comes in many forms. However, what makes this Sonic game truly unique is that there are no rings in the act at all, which means it's just you versus Dr. Robotnik, and if he hits you, you have to start the whole act again, which means the player just can't rush into it in case they make a mistake. As with any Sonic game, the object is to run from left to right, dodging anything which the game throws at you, and getting to the goal at the end. The player is also allowed to collect rings, which enables you to get hit by a baddie without dying. However, if the player holds no rings and they get hit, they must restart the level, or from a checkpoint if they have found one along the way. Unlike the Mega Drive version, however, if the player is hit when they are holding rings, they are all gone instantly, whereas the Mega Drive version drops some on the floor next to the player, allowing them to pick up another ring straight away. Just like the Mega Drive version, Sonic has special stages and emeralds to collect, however they are not linked in this version. The special zone in Sonic is reached in the same manner as the Mega Drive version, and that's to collect 50 rings and get into the end goal. When the goalpost lands, it will show an exclamation mark, giving you warning that you're heading to the special zone. There are 5 special zones, each being harder than the previous one. These contain springs, bouncers and walls which the player need to get by within the certain set time limit. These stages are also full of rings for the player to collect to get more lives if they wish, an extra life box and also a continue box which will allow the player, if they are unfortunate, to run out of lives midway through the game. So, if there's no emerald in the special stages, where are they hiding? Well, there are 6 lovely emeralds to collect hidden within each zone. Some are hidden in Act 1, where some are hidden in Act 2. You will never find an emerald in Act 3, as this contains the boss in each zone. Some emeralds are fairly straightforward to get to, however some require items such as invincibility boxes to get them from trickier areas. The game was not free of glitches, and there are plenty of shortcuts out there. However, there is a cool glitch I'm going to show you which you can do on the very first act of the game. After the first hill you get to, you jump over the invincibility box and run down the other side. Continue until you reach the power boots. Now what you have to do is jump on these boots and run back up the hill on your left to collect the invincibility box. Once you collect that, run and roll down the hill to your right by pressing down. Once you're in a ball, hold right on the D-pad and you will fly off the screen and stop just past the finishing post. All in all, Sonic will always be a gem on whatever retro gaming console you play him on, but overall out of all the Sonics, Sonic on the Sega Master System will always have that top spot for me. If you haven't had a go, I highly recommend it, you won't regret it. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe, and if you want an old game reviewed, leave it in the comment box and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching and I'll see you all soon.